All right. Good afternoon. Good morning for those of you out on the West Coast. I guess happy start of Friday for those in Australia. If you're on, I know, Eric, I think every once in a while we get some listening in on yours from Australia. So
Nice.
we'll welcome that. I think I went the right way. Yeah, Friday morning there, Thursday evening for those over in Europe listening in. So welcome on this one. We have got a packed house here. I was telling Eric that for his webinar series, very, very popular. I think this is probably one of the highs that we've had for definitely for your series, Eric. And so definitely hitting home on this. I don't want to delay too much because I want to get right into it. We're going to be talking about 3 ways to scale your marketing using new sales strategies, get you closer to qualified prospects, showcases your expertise and builds credibility. Eric's already given it away a little bit by his headline right here on the what he's going to be talking about. All new stuff here that we're not always talking about. And so you're going to learn a ton. I wanted to first just real quick, as we're getting more and more that are piling into the webinar, just wanted to remind everyone, and I'll put this up in the chat, is that make sure that you get registered for the upcoming IT marketing roadshow here that is coming up this fall. We're going to be in Philadelphia in just a little under 3 weeks. And then we're heading to Chicago, Boston, Orlando, Houston, and Las Vegas. So 6 stops, ton of great stuff there. It's only $97 to attend. It's 2 days of great content. I was just reviewing Robin's content just right before this, and she's got a ton of great new material. We've also got a half-day workshop included as part of that from one of the top experts on compliance as a service in the area, specifically for the MSP market. And so that is something you don't want to miss. It is not only a great new opportunity for MSPs that most MSPs are not capitalizing on right now, but it's also a big risk factor for many of you that if you're not starting to do this, you're going to start seeing people coming in and taking your customers because they're using it as a strategy. And so you want to get in front of that, not behind that curve, even if you need to be knowing of what it is. And it doesn't get all just into all the technical stuff that you think of HIPAA and CMMC and all these type of things, of where there's a starting place of where you can get to that you can be really strategic on this, that any MSP can take on no matter who their clients are. And so it's itmarketingroadshow.com. You can also go to cybersecurityroadshow.com for those 6 cities. Again, only $97. If you are a TMT member, Toolkit membership, MSP Launch Academy, Accelerators Club, Producers Club, under the events tab on the TMT dashboard, you can go there. You get 2 free tickets to attend. So you don't even have to pull out your wallet, don't have to pay $97, even though $97 is a great price to be able to get all that content over 2 days, is that you can get that for free. So make sure that you go and register today, as cities are filling up. Eric, out of all those cities, what do you think is the one that is filling up the most? We got Philly, Boston, Chicago, Orlando, Houston, or Las Vegas?
It's funny. Chicago is usually a pretty good city. They get people there. But if you're a gambler, you got to pick Vegas. I mean,
right now Vegas is leading the pack.
That's all I gotta say.
Vegas always sells out first out of all of them. It's the last show, first one that sells out there. And so we still have room. We're about 50% sold out in Las Vegas. Bill is saying yo from Philly here. Philly's the first one. You can get the content before everyone else there by going to Philly. Get that on the first of our couple East Coast cities. So all right, with that was my commercial announcement to make sure that you get there. And I wanted to bring on, I know we've been talking here a little bit, but Eric Townsend. Eric's here from Intel as a guest. He's a regular frequent guest here on the MSP Success webinar series, and always great stuff here. And so I'm going to be on here, just a heads up with this from a logistics standpoint. If you do have questions, if you just want to say something like yo Philly, use the chat. If you do have questions, you want to make sure that Eric gets answered. We're going to have some time at the end of today's call to be able to get to those questions. And so use the Q&A function or the question function there that you have. That'll just help us to be able to get organized on that and make sure that we get all of your questions answered there. We're also going to have a poll question sometime during this, and so be paying attention. And you know what? I didn't even mention this, but I'll make sure that I do, is that we are giving away cash on this webinar here. And so always fun with it. We've got $500 Amex gift cards. We're going to be giving that away at the end of today's webinar. Must be present to win. And so a little incentive just to stick around throughout the whole webinar here today. And so we're going to be giving away, I believe, is it 5? Does that sound right, Alicia?
Oh my gosh.
So
Sounds right to me.
$2,500 cash coming from Dell on today's webinar here. So be paying attention, be sticking around. Don't leave, because you get your chance to be able to win. So we'll be drawing that later in today's webinar. So with that, Eric, I'm going to turn it over to you. We'll get this thing fired up.
This is an amazing day, right? I think we got Alicia here, we got you, we got Rachel, there's some awesome stuff, and we'll talk about, the Dell Expert Network and how they're going to help you. But I want to start with a question for everyone here, and I want you to think about, in the last minute that Jeff was talking, right? So just think 60 seconds back. What was happening for you? What were you thinking about? What were you doing? You doing email? Were you on Teams? Hopefully everyone here, we're talking marketing. Right? Doing marketing, you were doing a social post. Yes, I like that, right? I know Jeff's starting his TikTok.
Got it.
Right, Jeff, you got your TikTok. We're watching. I'm watching. I see what you're doing, right? So you've got, you even got some new stuff. There's some alphas out there. My alpha generation, right? You know about TikTok. It's for old people, right? You got the new stuff you're working on. But let me ask a question, right? What's happened in the last 60 seconds? And you're probably like, well, gosh, the last 60 seconds, I was kind of sitting here listening to Jeff talking about all that money. But in the last 60 seconds, over 230 million engagements have been happening. 230 million engagements. So you're sitting there going, okay, so cool. I haven't seen all this before. So we've got, okay, Zoom, 856 minutes started, Teams, 100,000 connections out there, YouTube, your eyes are going around else, right? My question for you is, of those 230 million engagements, how many of those were you involved with? Maybe you were part of the Amazon group, right? Maybe you're part of Strava earlier, right? But how many of these engagements, because all these here represent a community. It may not seem like it, but everyone here, some of them require logins, a lot of them do, but these are communities. And I'm going to kind of go through today and really have you think about, what type of community activity are you doing from a marketing perspective? It's called community-based marketing, CBM. There's a huge movement behind it. Really excited to have the conversation with you today. And it is going to be a conversation. We have lots of stuff to go through. I was with a partner earlier this week, and I started showing him this stuff, and he's like, we need to go through this again. Let's take the next 3 hours and just redo this, right? And I'm like, so today you will get access to these slides, but I want to make sure you're really clear. This is where, if people are trying to grow their engagement with existing customers, new customers, even with their employees, this is where huge community-based marketing is coming into play. It's probably, if you look at like the top 5 marketing trends out there, this is number 1, number 2 out there right now. If you don't follow marketing a lot, which I'm not saying you have to, but you'd be like, what is a CBM? I don't know what that is. This community-based marketing is really big. I'm going to take it from more of a business-to-business perspective today. So there's a lot of research out there, a lot of data, but here's our conversation, right? We're going to first talk about what CBM is, right? So for some of you, you'd be like, yep, community-based, I get that, I know what it is. For other people, we're going to lean in and talk about what it is. Then we're going to give you 3 initiatives that you should be engaging with. They're pretty good. I would say for people who are advanced in here, you're going to be like, this is not too hard. For people that have not done this before, they're like, this is hard. But the return on it is pretty large. And then we're going to talk about resources that are available for you to help you grow the business. But this is part of our conversation. And the goal is that if we talk a week from now, a month from now, and ask that question of the 230 million, what's your engagement, you could actually tell me, here's what we're actually doing in these communities, right? Now, quickly, just if you haven't, really fortunate. I work with a lot of great people. Alicia mentioned Jeff, they're great. But if we haven't had a conversation before, do a lot within the channel. Excited. Those road shows are awesome. Just, too, I remember about a year or two ago, Jeff, we were at the big show was great. I love the hotel sign behind you. I remember that breakout was awesome. So but if you want, hook up me on LinkedIn. I share a lot of different things. I work with a lot of different type of vendor partners out there. In fact, I was at a peer group meeting this week. We were just talking about how does partners actually engage around, not only the hardware, the software, but we started talking this week, Jeff, about vendors that are insurance providers and how insurance providers are actually the new vendor. And it was very big. So I love the idea about compliance as service. That is a huge topic that you could park on for a whole day, which I'm glad we're taking time there. So feel free to connect up, but let's jump in. Let's talk about community-based marketing. Like I said, for some of you may have never heard this before, and we're in a series, right? If you know what we've kind of been doing, right? So we're talking about social selling, right? We talk about ways that we can kind of engage our teams. This is another one of those, right? In the series. So this series part, we're talking community-based marketing, and all this kind of comes from a part that your buyers are on a journey, right? They are not just going right directly to your channel, your buying channel, buying directly from you. They're on a journey, and their journey starts with identifying a problem. So I'll go back to compliance. Hey, by the way, we are in healthcare. There's a whole new set of things that we have to comply towards. What do we do, right? Probably the big example right now is that when a customer is trying to go through and get cybersecurity insurance, right? They can't just go and sign up for it. They can sign up, but they got to have a whole package of what are you doing to basically make sure that you're going to be secure, and that enables them to get the insurance. So identifying a problem, then they look at the solution of, okay, what's the solution out there I need to look at? So for cybersecurity insurance, right, there's all these pieces, multi-factor authentication, right? Got to have EDRs, all these things around it. And then they got to start building the requirements, and then they select a supplier. A lot of people, they think it's the reverse. So in community-based marketing, we talked through today, I'm not saying everyone has to be like negative Nancy's, but when we're going to community, we're talking, we have to sometimes talk about problems or challenges or opportunities, however you want to frame them. But that's part of this whole thing of community marketing. We're gonna have a lot more conversations, and I'll tell you the data and ROI behind it. There's a lot of things with it, but be clear that there's this whole journey that's actually happening here, and we could take a lot more time to dive on each one of these. Did about one time, took me 4 hours to walk through the whole thing, but these things here are key, and the key takeaways: you start with a problem, you end with selecting the supplier. Now, when we think about the evolution of online communities, I love just starting and talking about communities because some people, they're like, oh yeah, so like Jeff, do you remember CompuServe? I'm getting a head shake. See, Jeff remembers CompuServe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, 1980. Yeah, Alicia, that was a great year. That was like the year of years. If you don't remember that. There was some like Duran songs came out that year was made. Sorry. So, and then you start thinking about some of these. So we've got, the group chat messaging, the virtual worlds that are out there, right? I know my friends out there, I see a couple of you Minecraft, right? 2011, you're like, I remember that. That's technically a community. You don't realize that, but you're in an environment, you're sharing things, right? Bulletin boards. Think about this. Reddit's been out since 2005, folks. Can you believe that? Like we're gonna have a 20-year anniversary of Reddit coming up. I mean, sorry, it's the alphas out there like, what's it called? Red what? No, it's all virtual videos. We'll get into that later. But so then you've also got, as far as networks and that, and you've got social networks out there. Think of that great thing called Facebook in 2004. It's coming up on 20. I know, right? Even Instagram has even passed the 10. I mean, some of these things out there you're seeing, you're like, man, these have been around for a while. So this activity I'm talking about, this is not where community-based marketing is something that's new for 2022 or 2020. This has been around for a while, right? Now, when we talk about the trends that are out there, I want to give you a really good line of sight of what people are talking about when they say community-based marketing. We'll go through the nuts and bolts of it. But the trends right now that everyone's talking about is saying, look, there's this huge thing happening around the passion economy and digital transformation. So if I just, the second part, right, digital transformation, this is the whole thing around how people are actually changing their business. What the model from fully on-site to fully remote to the in-between of hybrid, how are people actually how are they looking at their business, their processes, how are they transforming? But the other part is that this passion economy, and this refers to is that people are actually leaving jobs. Remember the Great Resignation or the Great Resentment, however you look at it. They moved, and then now they're actually maybe kind of doing that gig thing, that gig economy thing, right? But they're doing something off their passion. And they're still getting paid pretty well because there's a skill that they actually have. So in community marketing, what's happening now is we're actually trying to market. Let's get back to the employee things of community-based marketing. I can market to get people to be a part of my company, right? I can also market out to new customers that are in a community, and maybe they're an expert, but now they're in a community that I want to get a hold of. Obviously, the impact of the pandemic was really, really big. I put a long kind of paragraph there, but just the ways that we communicate, the way we collaborate, all these things, it's really changed. And in community-based marketing before, you could go to maybe an event, you could maybe have a forum you were a part of, but it's really changed as far as how we engage. And then another big thing and reason why community-based marketing is getting really a lot of people behind it is that there's a lot of noise out there right now. I'll be honest with you, webinars, ebooks, white papers, emails, in-mails, newsletters, events, podcasts, blogs, you can keep going, right? All this stuff is noise. And so how do we make sure that we've got an area, and like I said, all are great, so don't stop doing them, but how do we have another area we can actually engage that's got a little bit, I'd say, a higher value from a conversation perspective. So this is where when people look at CBM, these are the three big things: passion economy, digital transformation, the impact of pandemic, and then also the saturation in business to business. This is not talking any consumer stuff, so business to business. Now, I do want to have a conversation just so we're clear about what community-based marketing is. Because for some people, you're like, okay, what is this whole thing? So when we think about community-based marketing, the reason why people are kind of leaning in is because it enables connections with people in your industry. So if you like out there, I know a couple people out there I see maybe are focused in a certain industry, like there's some person out there today that does stuff in dentistry, maybe you do stuff in law, right? You do community-based marketing, and so you want to actually engage with people in that community. And now, you'll interesting to know is that community-based marketing is all different types of engagement. It could be mentorship, it could be all the way up to professional growth. The big thing also why community-based marketing is growing a lot is because of influencers. If you follow the whole influencer thing, we talked about a little about this a couple times ago about influencer marketing and how you actually do that, right? That's part of the series. But when you think about this relationship with influencers, this directly happens in community-based marketing. So, and we'll talk about kind of what you can do with this. But this is a really key thing that is just growing more and more and more. There's many, many books out there. I would tell you, there's a lot of people that are putting money and time into this, and it's all kind of in that umbrella of community-based marketing. Obviously, what people do for community-based marketing, one of the big reasons they do it is because, and what it basically is a way to increase kind of product interactions, customer success, and obtain feedback from customers. So when you're doing CBM, it's not just about, okay, I'm just going to do marketing, but I'm engaging and trying to get people in conversations, interactions where I can get feedback about the interactions with our products, what's happening with our customers, and getting feedback on just how we're doing. You can see all the things below it. So gets one-on-one, right? It develops interests from people. It helps you address problems too that comes up. And then also it is a great piece. In our last series, we talked about, when you do social selling, how can you listen, right? The listening part. This is a great pace when you do community-based marketing to really help listen at scale. So it's not just the one-to-one part that we talked about social selling. This is actually across a community. So sorry, I've had a little bit of coffee today. So I'm like, this stuff I could just go through and talk about for, Alicia's like, Eric, calm it down just like one level. So so we got the what, right? Let's jump into the why. Everyone here, when you're doing marketing, it's all about ROI, right? Return on investment, right? And there's other versions, but I'll tell you. So when I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, when I touch a partner, we all have limited marketing budgets. And at Intel, we've got a little bit bigger marketing budget. Dell experts, they have the same thing. I can tell you, we at Intel have made a lot of $1 million mistakes from a marketing perspective. So I'm sharing you with stuff of like, when you're looking around saying, hey, what are we actually doing in Intel to really drive engagement out the channel? Communities. I can tell you about this. I'm telling you something that I'm doing right now. And when I'm going through and saying to our teams, hey, by the way, here's what we have to get out of this. Like, why are we doing it? It's because we want to improve retention and reduce churn. So this is where we talk about your existing customers you have. You may have some that are moving, that are kind of, you don't keep as much connection with them. You do community-based marketing to bring them in so you don't have to worry about them churn of leaving. Also, community-based marketing is a great opportunity to increase leads, inbound leads specifically. They're coming to you. So in the funnel, if you think about it, right, you're doing awareness activities. Think if you come mid-funnel, like down, this is where you're getting that preference. when they come into a community that you have, whether you're participating, right, you're owning, we'll talk about some in a minute, your engagement, that's where you get some inbound leads. The metric on that, right, just to be clear, in each one is I give you a metric. So the metric around this, increase inbound leads, is the number of new leads that come from the community, or the existing leads that have been successfully nurtured. So whenever people do community-based marketing, like, hey, we have community, we're doing the leads that come in, we don't want to miss those. We want to get them in, whether tracking tool you use, and say they came through this specific community, because we can identify saying in this community we're getting more and more leads. That's what we would do, more direct mail, direct, however you want to connect them overall. So increase inbound leads. The third part, and this is where all people they start to go, okay, so I get the engagement of retention, right? I get the increase of inbound leads, but premium customer service for top customers. I'm sorry, customer service. We have a customer success team that does this. Why would we do community-based marketing? Remember, for a lot of customer success teams or your services team, they think it's only in them. The more that you could actually partner with other kind of customer teams, the better. Support teams in a community, think of it as like a place where you can actually engage with your existing customers. How you'd measure that, right, is that your NPS score, your net promoter score, we call it, or you can have an advocacy score. Advocacy score is basically if you have a customer and they're referring people to you. A great thing I always tell partners to do, they said, we have great customers. I say, great, let's just list them all out. Let's take your top 20 customers. Tell me how many customers they referred to you. And if they say, I don't know if there's a lot of great customers out there, but customers that really lead us, they would actually be going through and referring. So that's another part of premium customer service. The last part, and I think this is a big thing that a lot of people miss in community-based marketing, is the part around market and customer insight. The metric here is that whenever you have a new product come out or a new service rollout or an assessment, you can say, did that actually come from our community-based marketing activities? Now, I'm literally giving you a lot, right? The what and the why, because I want to make sure there is some effort that takes into this. If you look, it's not all free, right? This costs money. So people go, hey, we're going to make some investment in community-based marketing. Yes, it's because we're going to get these 4 things here. So hopefully it makes sense. The why behind it, the ROI, in that retention and reducing churn. I'm going to get some leads. I'm going to be able to have better customer service, and I'm going to be able to get some insights. That's it. Now, when you think of marketing, a lot of people ask the question, well, in marketing, there's always this funnel that we have, right? The funnel. Where does this stuff fit in? And I'll tell you, depending on how you implement community-based marketing, it can actually fall in different places. A lot of people ask this question. They go, well, if you think of the general marketing funnel, right? You have preference, awareness, preference, purchase, those 3. What we've broken it out and saying, well, there's awareness, there's interest, consideration, desire, action, and then loyalty. That's a little bit longer one. I would tell you a lot of CBM activities people do is more around the interest and consideration and desire. They want to get people in to learn about what they have, and then they want to be able to close them. There are a lot of people that get more mature in their community-based marketing, and they actually say, no, we're going to add on that part of loyalty and advocacy. That's for our existing customers. So this is when you think about community-based marketing, there's kind of the what it is, why we're going to do it from ROI, and then where it impacts. And this is impacts in 2 pieces of the funnel. So I know it's a lot. Take a break for a second. Let's breathe in. A lot from a community-based. So if you haven't seen community-based marketing, you're like, holy mackerel, there's a whole nother engine out there for us to drive leads and get totally, right? Now, I want to ask a question. This is just the upfront, like, red face test. How many of you currently today have a community-based strategy within your marketing plan? Now, most people are like, marketing plan, right? You've got the toolkit, right? So you're leaning in there. But if you think about how many people out there, I want you saw it just pop up, right? I want you to select it. How many, it's your yes or no. It's either you're looking at community-based marketing or you're not. How many of you have it in your current marketing plan? So go ahead and select that. We'll give you a second. It's definitely something. Jeff, communities, you guys are doing a lot of that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We do a ton of it in what we're doing. Some of it is all built to, I mean, one of the biggest things for us is we've got the community within the community, is that we do it within our member portal and get a ton of interaction.
Yep. That was perfect. That's perfect. Because you're my example in about 2 slides. So you got that. So, okay. So let's see what we got. Let's see our real numbers here. Okay. Drum roll. Okay, 84%. You're in the right place today. This is great. I feel, because if everyone did it, I'd be like, we're done. We're just gonna finish and let Alicia lead us out. But here's the thing. So 84% are not to say that's great. That's great. That means that you have enough. For my people, that my 16% that I can't, we're doing it. Hopefully this stuff will help. What we're going to lean into right now is we're going to really talk about, like, what are the 3 things that you can really, when you think about community-based marketing, what 3 initiatives you should be engaging with. Now, I'm going to be clear, you don't do all 3. Right? So I'm going to show you 3, but these are all great. No, we're doing 1. When you say you're just do 1 of them, right? Now, one thing that Jeff said very clear, and it's kind of a mindset. If you've been doing it for a long time, you can clearly identify, okay, my own community versus someone else's community versus something that I'm not involved with. I want to show you a quick graphic. There's spheres of marketing within community-based marketing. So there's spheres here. So I want to make sure you understand this. So you have, there may be communities that you're participating in today. You probably are, right? Think of the YouTubes, the Facebooks, LinkedIn. You're participating in that community, right? Meaning you're listening, you may be doing a couple posts, but you're participating there. You're a participant. There's other communities where you manage them, right? Meaning that maybe you're going to pay and you're going to join a community, you have a membership, and you actually go and you're posting, you're listening, you're building reputation, you're actually even marketing on there. So a great example we always use is that if you are a part of a chamber, local chamber of commerce, right? We've seen a lot through the pandemic. Most people have changed where they actually have the face-to-face interaction, but they have online communities. That's a great place where you can manage in the community where you don't actually own it, but you're managing your engagement, what you're doing. The third one is around own. So Jeff gave the great example, right? Think of Robin's World, everything. That's, you guys are community. Everyone here, gals, you're all community. You're all together. This is where, for example, in the marketing side of it, in community marketing, when you own it, you're listening, you're supporting, you're building relationships, and you're encouraging collaboration, right? Now, in an owned environment, that is something you build. That's not something that, you know, someone else has, and you're paying them. That's something that's managed. If it's something that you don't, you're just participating. But this, in the owned environment, this is where you can do a lot of things. This can be customers. Now, when we talk about an owned environment, I always say that there's maybe different levels. And this is where, when we start doing community-based marketing, we start taking a step back saying, is there tiered customers we have? So maybe if you're a general customer of ours, you're first starting out, you'll get a basic membership to the tier. So it's the gold level. And then, but if you're really engaged with us and you're at a certain support level, right? You're going to actually get a titanium access, meaning when you actually log in, you're going to have dashboards you see, you're going to have all access to new things we have. You're going to be able to have one click away or maybe a chat bot away from certain things. But in the owned space, this is why I talk about the ROI and all stuff. It's going to cost you more money. But think of owned is you're listening, supporting, building, and collaborating there. So I'm gonna come back to this graphic like every time, but make sure you understand there's 3 areas where you can engage in community-based marketing: participating, managing, and owning, right? So let's take a second and let me show you the first one. So first one you can actually do is you can proactively participate in public communities, right? So that participating one, right, the yellow one on top, this is where you say, I'm going to proactively go and participate in a public community. This is where you're not paying, you're just a part of it. So easy one, LinkedIn, easy, right? This is where you basically, in LinkedIn is a public community, and you can start sharing content. I always say when I think of like a conversation, and that's what we're doing in community-based marketing, there's a framework. It's pretty simple. There's 3 key parts to it. You can, and there's these 3 pieces can happen in many different ways. There's not one particular place you start at, but normally you would start to, you'd engage in some type of either listening or some type of dialogue within the community, right? From there, you'd understand when you engage it, like I said, can be listening. It necessarily doesn't mean that you're actively posting something or you're actively putting something out there. When you engage, then you start to understand in that community, what is their values or their current problems. Remember to start with the problems, right? The problems they have, and then what solutions are they looking for, right? So think of that, literally that slide I showed you up front with the boxes. Start with where they're at right now, understand that, right? Once we understand that, then we can start talking about recommending. Now, the best thing I could tell you is that when we think about recommending, we got to make sure that we're not just going and selling. I've said this a lot, even in social selling. The part of whenever we're in a community, and I think most people have been in Reddit, you've seen this actually having vendors come on, they do the same thing can happen for you when you're in customers. We got to make it somewhat personalized. So once again, understanding is really, really key. got to be somewhat empathetic. We're not just going to throw things out there, and it's got to be valued content, right? And valued kind of conversation. So that leads to the trustworthy part. But when we think about this part of really leaning into public communities, this is it's free, right? So there's not cost there. There's cost on time. But this will be your first big thing I'd say in community-based marketing you want to lean in on. You really want to go through. I think this is one of the easiest ones for that 16% that's already in community-based marketing. You're probably doing this, which is great. All these ones here, when you're in a public community, right, and you're getting leads or interactions, you want to make sure you're tracking all that. That's the one thing I mentioned. Is this is the easiest one to do. You can go do it right now, but when leads start coming in, you want to make sure it's tracks, the effectiveness of the communities that you're engaging with, because you just don't engage in one. LinkedIn's an easy one, but I would start looking at what are other ones that you can engage in. A lot of free ones out there can be industry specific. There's also ones that are in whole other areas. I have a really great partner in Florida that he actually does community-based marketing, and he literally does it in his local community. So he's an MSP, great MSP, but he actually goes and he's like part of the hurricane responders group. Different groups out in the community he's a part of, and he basically, people get to know him. They've actually asked him to come present on. So if there's a disaster, what do we do with our IT stuff? What do we do? Because they just found out who he was. He didn't mention it. He just said, here's what I do. But I think that's something for us to think about. The second thing I'll have you think about is that when we think about the managed community, we really want to make sure that we're implementing targeted content. So this is a little more, right? So now we're actually saying we're not participating when it's free. We're there, great. Now we come to manage. Now we're actually paying some money to be in. So we're in that local forum, right? And like I said, your Chamber of Commerce is a great one. And then you start saying, okay, what do we actually want to make sure we're talking about in here? And then, so we're going to have a plan on who do we want to reach? Is a certain type of decision maker? Is there a certain type of call to action we have? How do we want to be positioned in this community? Because we're paying money now. So if we're in that community, do we want to know as the security experts? Do we want to know as, like, there's some problem? How can we be kind of there? And then we want to understand what's our value going to be? And then what's the business case of why they're going to select us? I'll tell you that probably the strategic planning and positioning is probably what you'll see most in the community. The value prop and business case will be after usually engage and then become a lead. Now, I'll tell you, and you saw some community marketing around how the pandemic has impacted things, right? From a content marketing perspective, the pandemic has definitely changed the who, what, when, where, why, and how, right? All that stuff has been impacted because how you actually message back in 2019 and how you message now about your technology is probably a little different. Security, obviously one thing, but then also making sure everyone's got a VPN. Sorry, that's a joke. But literally making sure that you got to make sure now we're talking about hybrid before. I mean, imagine, Jeff, in 2019, were we talking about hybrid workforce or remote? No, right? I mean, it was one of those places where it was like in 2019, we were, I don't know if it was like the latest version of Office 365, not M360, it was Office 365. And this is, yeah. So this is where when we look at this, all these things have changed. How people communicate, right? The customer journey, all this stuff. And so the key thing is that how they're actually communicating has gotten different. Also, to be clear, what they're communicating, right? So you can see what they're communicating. So and where are the vehicles they use. So whether it's blogs, newsletters, case studies, when we talk about really looking at community marketing, community marketing, we got to understand that they're in the managed space. You're paying money. You're paying money for a reason. Okay, how are you going to actually get some value out of it? What are you going to drive? You're going to drive, once again, is it the lead part? Is it the part around getting the insights? I mean, all these ROI pieces have to play in this one because, like I said, you're putting more money, a little more time. So when we think about that part of the managed community, if you're already doing the public stuff, great, and you feel like you're getting some leads from there, and you're tracking it, great. When we start getting that next stage of that managed, now we got to sit there and say, okay, what are we putting out in this community to really grow engagement in those conversations? Okay, so that's two. The third one, this is more for my advanced people, right? So for people that are brand new today, community-based marketing, I would probably have you not look at this one. And it's kind of cool, but I'm going to tell you probably not to do it, right? It's cool though. It's something you'll be like, I want to do that. I got to do that. So here's what it is. You can create an owned community. Right? So think about this. When Jeff was talking a second about, hey, by the way, in Robbinsville, we have our own community. This is our community. We're actually engaging, right? So if you want, you can actually go through, that's this own part, and you can actually create an own community. Now, there's different types of engagement models in owned communities, right? So there's one around, you're just trying to get people to collaborate, right? So it's part around helping people kind of connect and do things. Maybe it's not around cloud. Maybe it's around just sharing the latest things that are happening, like that shop talk. What's all the stuff happening? Or it could be you're specifically trying to go through, Jeff mentioned earlier about the all stuff of compliance. Maybe you're trying to say, I'm trying to make sure I get the word about security and develop a community around security in a certain vertical, right? And it's disseminating information. These three things, I would tell you, the three models basically are when people are going to go do an engaged community, they look at this way. Now, this does cost money. There's a platform you got to look at. They're not super expensive, but then you also have to figure out who's going to lead it. There's a lot of pieces. And every time I tell the partner, like, hey, we really want to have our next we hit this kind of level on our marketing effectiveness. We want to take that next step. I'm like, well, community-based marketing is it. Now, depending on how much jump you want to make, right? You want to go from here to here, here to here, right? Community-based marketing, you can develop it, but here's the top. I give you kind of the top 10. If you want to think about, if you're developing an own community, here's the things you got to do, right? Just and these, like I said, this is harder. So you got to have a clear purpose for your community. I know it sounds really, I mean, Robin and Jeff and team do a great job on, it's very clear the purpose, like what they're trying to do, right? Help everyone here as far as grow their market acumen and sales, everything like that, right? The second thing is, and some people, they don't agree with this, but I'll tell you, it's for effectiveness, is small is good. Meaning when you're growing an own-based community, you do not have to have thousands or millions. That's not the, small is good, right? That's where you get the most engagement. I will tell you the importance of a community leader. Jeff's a great example. That guy's everyone. Good guy, right? Very personal. The engagement he brings, it's top notch. Every own community out there, if you look at their community leader, is they can drive engagement. That's a very, very key thing. So whenever someone looking to a community, I'm always like, okay, you do an own community. I want to meet that person as your community leader, because if they're not engaging right here, they're not going to be engaged in the community. Curate, not dictate. So it's the whole aspect about making sure you're putting content out there that really can provide value. And that may be not stuff that you're building. It may be stuff you're curating, you're bringing from different places. The right platform, there's a lot of platforms out there making sure it handles your size and scope and scale you want to do. Obviously want to make sure that you have some type of mechanism and strategy around how you're going to build trust. That's a very big thing nowadays. People are giving their time, how you build trust. Consistency. This is just making sure that when you have a community itself that doesn't live by itself, you still have to have at least a minimum of probably 10 to 15 minutes a day that you're going into the community and doing engagement and interaction. And that there's got to be persistency. Sometimes you're gonna put things out in the community and it's going to land not the right way, and you'll be like, okay, that didn't land. No one's engaging with that. Just got to keep going, right? And then also, investing in the community building. It's not something. This is not easy. So this, when I say it's one of the most hot thing, if you're a community building, a community leader, you'd be surprised. Go look out on LinkedIn. People asking for online community managers. Many people are trying to find this right now, because as people have kind of dispersed, right, they're not actually in an environment where they can actually get to people, right? So when they're in a dispersed environment, when you have these remote teams, when you set up a community, how do you get people kind of coming together? And like you say, the trust, you could say the commitment, all those things come into play. So 3 big ones, right? We talk about participating, right, in those kind of public forums in the managed environment. How do you make sure you're putting the right content out there? And then that own side, I'm not saying dip your toe in, right? I'm saying like literally put the foot in the water. So, we're going to actually build something that doesn't be huge. It can just be small. So that's kind of part. Now I want to make sure that when we're talking about, you start to take that step, there are lots of other parts of your business. You're like, man, we need help. We are trying to hire people, find people like that. And so I'm excited because we get to hear a little about how you can actually scale your business from a Dell Expert Network perspective. So Alicia, glad you're here, first of all.
I'm here. Thank you. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, thanks, Eric. Just to introduce myself really quickly, my name is Alicia Bowling. I'm the North America Dell Expert Network Program Manager for all of our MSPs based here in the US. And, Eric has brought a lot of good insight around community-based marketing. Like he said, consistency in these communities are key. It's kind of like a sourdough starter. You have to feed it every day to keep it alive. Just put a little bit of water and flour in there, and we see that grow and flourish. And we also see, a lot of the successful MSPs in our community that are doing this community-based marketing. They're having monthly meetups and happy hours and dinners with their own customers, talking about cybersecurity or how they can help grow their end users. Because you know what, a successful MSP not only focuses on growing their business, but helping the customers that they serve grow their business as well, so that they can continue that success. So just want to talk about continuing success in the MSP community and how Dell is really participating in that conversation in the Dell Expert Network space. So I'm just going to get us kicked off and talk to you guys really quick about this program and kind of what benefits that we offer. We've been around for about 4.5 years. I saw the question come in earlier. If we're a Dell Premier partner, is this still relevant? And it absolutely is, because we want to evangelize this community, not only within the MSPs that we directly focus on, but also the other ones who are talking to, if you're talking to an MSP in your community that's just not having, great luck with whatever hardware vendor, they're using. I want you to have knowledge of this program so you can share it with those in your community to see if, maybe if it's not a direct fit for you, maybe it's a fit for someone else in your community that can be helpful. So Eric, if you want to take us to the next slide, just so we can talk about, really quickly, what are the benefits you get in the Dell Expert Network? What is the Dell Expert Network? So we are an MSP program here at Dell that focuses on MSPs in the community who are not interested in reselling our hardware. Some people right now are thinking, well, Alicia, I'm an MSP. How would I make money if I'm not reselling hardware? Feedback that we've gotten over the past couple of years is that there's a lot of MSPs out there who are focusing more on that MRR, that monthly recurring revenue, and they want to get out of that business model of buying and reselling hardware. It's high risk. When you buy something from Dell as a partner, there's no return policy. So if you don't get that hardware purchase right at the beginning, sometimes you have some extra things on your book, and then you're trying to offload it. You have to cover that capital cost up front and then get reimbursed by your end user. So some MSPs are not interested in that business model anymore, and that's kind of where we come into play. Is like, what are you going to give me as an MSP if I'm referring my end users to Dell? I'm not reselling the hardware, but I'm out there advocating for your brand, and I want to make sure that I'm valued as well. So we kind of give you access to these 5 benefits as a thank you, and saying thank you for recommending Dell to your end users. So we give you a dedicated advisor that you can access their direct phone line, their direct email. It's not a 1-800 number that you call. It's not a general inbox where you're going to get someone new every time. You learn their name, you learn their story, and they're there to help you grow your business and help you with your end users. In addition to that, we give you different shortcuts and support, because my MSPs, one of the most frustrating things is, I'm sure all of you guys know, when you've had your techs take the time to diagnose a problem or figure out what's going on with an endpoint, and then you have to call into support and explain yourself and answer, have you turned the system off and back on again? Have you is it plugged into the wall? You don't want to go through and answer those questions. So we give you tools to help cut down on that time spent, so you can get that endpoint back running and up online, and your techs can go into the next thing that's came across the help desk. We also have a lot of member portals with industry content, such as these type of webinars. We're always partnering with Eric and Intel to bring our community the most up-to-date marketing, sales, tech information, so that when you're making those decisions about what technology to go with, you are working on the most up-to-date information, which is really important. And then of course money, which is always good. We're talking about later in the hour giving away some money. So what is Dell giving back to you for those referrals? So you can get up to $20,000 a year in rewards, up to $5,000 a quarter. So that's not an amount to turn your nose up at. A lot of our MSPs make a lot of internal upgrades to their own technology infrastructure with these rewards. They use them as door openers for new customers. They use them, to fix issues, so they don't have to use their own capital. And then, we also offer Dell Financial Services to your end user. So if they're looking at getting on more of a hardware as a service model, trying to save capital up front, then we do have financing options to offer them, and a benefit for you as well. So moving on to the next slide, I kind of went into this, but this is just a good visual of, is my MSP a good fit for this program? And, the reality is a lot of folks will fall in that middle category, where it's, I don't know. I'm not 100% one way or 100% another way, and that's totally fine. And that's real life. So I always encourage folks, just schedule a meeting with me, schedule a call. Let's talk through your business model, talk through how your current procurement process works, any pain points that you have, and then I can help advise you. Here are the different program offerings that we have here at Dell. It sounds like X, Y, or Z would fit your business model best, because it's not my intention to push anyone in one program or the next. It's my job to advise you as an MSP and being knowledgeable about your business model and which program here at Dell would be the best fit for your business, because we want to grow as a company and in turn help you grow as a company. So if you're not clearly one way or the other of, do I want to be a distributor of Dell hardware or do I not, then schedule a call with me. And on the next slide is my contact information. So as Eric said, please connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm always sharing MSP resources there. Check out our landing page for more details. Send me an email, schedule a meeting with me. If you are going to be at the roadshow events in the fall, come chat with us. We're going to be at all 6. So it might be me or someone else in my team, but we'll have a lot of information there as well, so you can come learn more about our program. But that's the main points of Dell Expert Network. I just want to encourage you guys, if you have any questions or you want more clarification on the program or about the details of the benefits, please reach out to me, and I'm happy to help. But Eric, I'll slide it back over to you for any closing thoughts you have.
Yeah, and I'd say, Alicia, so everyone here, Alicia's great. Just to be clear, that her email, I would literally grab it right now, and when she says, hey, by the way, there's lots of different options you have out there as a partner. I always look right now, and I was talking to his partner about a day or two ago, and we were talking about just resourcing. It's hard to find people right now. There's people that are still moving around, and so the stuff that she's about saving time and all that, like I go back to this part here, Alicia, that's really big. That those shortcuts and support. There are people that live and die by some of those shortcut things that they have, like live optics or things like that, which we could take hours on. But I tell you, get a conversation with Alicia and her team. And I always say the Dell Expert Network, it's kind of like, there's the experts of all you, right, in their community, but there's all these experts that Dell has they can bring in. That's the part that everyone misses. It's like, okay, Alicia's got connection to all these people. And so it's like, hey, you can now have a rep that can help you. But then also there's certain things you're like, gosh, I really wish I knew what the next thing coming up as far as around some of the new kind of on-premise technology or what's happening in public. We've got the resource there to support you. So yeah, so and before we get to Q&A, I'll just say, from an Intel perspective, we have our Intel Partner Alliance program. Really encourage you to kind of take a look at that. That's also another resource for you. I think of us as more of the technology set of what's coming. So if you think about AI, you think of multi-cloud environments, you think of like advanced threat protections, things like that. That's where you can lean in here. Same great thing as when you're buying that Dell technology, right? You're actually going to get rebates back from Intel. We call them IPA points. We've got great trainings. We've got different competencies. So lots of great things there. Intel.com / Partner Alliance, that will actually help you. And like I said, just from a next step perspective, we're going to go into Q&A in a second, but just I want to make sure you understand that there are lots of things we shared today, right? As far as from just understanding CDN, but then the 3 kind of walkaways. Those are great. We do want to make sure you get some engagement with the Dell Expert Network team to see where does it fit with your model, and then also looking at the Partner Alliance. But I know there's been some questions Rachel has come across, and Rachel, what do you got for us? What's coming up?
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Rachel from Intel. We've had a number of questions, Alicia, come up regarding how can I get more specifics on the rewards or which program am I best to fit for? So I think Jeff put your email in there. Definitely check out the Dell Expert Network website. But if you're not finding the information there, reach directly out to Alicia. Any additional add to that?
No, I don't think so. Yeah, I'm always open to having a meeting, and I promise I don't drone on and on. Usually they take less than 10 minutes. So, I know people, I was at an event in Charlotte earlier this week, and a guy said, okay, I'll schedule a meeting with you, Alicia, but how long is it going to be? I have a little bit of ADHD. I can't do these 1 hour long demos. And I said, give me 15 minutes and we'll be good. So if you schedule a meeting with me, it won't be long, I promise, but just let me know whatever questions that you have for sure.
Hey, and Alicia, can I ask a question? Because I know this is really what Rachel's saying. So when we talk about rewards and all that stuff, what are some example of rewards are? So is it if I only sell a Dell server, what type of rewards do I have out there?
Yeah, so we offer 3 to 5% back in rewards on anything that your end users purchase. So it's not technology specific. So it's obviously you can purchase anything that Dell offers through our program, and you'll earn 3 to 5% back on anything your end users purchase, and that's the form of the Dell reward. So when I say you can earn up to $20,000 a year, you can earn up to $5,000 a quarter, and those accrue, as your end users places orders.
Cool. Awesome.
Cool. There's so many benefits with Dell Expert Network, but the question is, what is, in your opinion, Alicia, the best?
I would say that our partners value the dedicated account manager the best. I think I hear all the time, I get an account manager every 6 weeks. I never know who to call. So having that dedicated person, my MSPs like to call it one throat to choke. So if you have issues with logistics, lead time, you ordered the wrong thing, you need a return, you need a 6th lease proposal for your end users because they keep changing their mind on what kind of term they want. That dedicated account manager is the one person you go to, and they're kind of the quarterback of the Dell team, if you will. So if you have questions about a storage array, or you need to build a new server, or you want to run a live optics program, whatever it is, they're kind of that liaison within Dell that makes sure that the right resources are on the call to make sure you're getting the right quotes, you're getting the equipment in the quickest time frame possible. So I would say that dedicated account manager is probably the favorite.
Awesome. Such a time saver.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to get to prizes in just a second, but I do want to get one more question in. Eric, this one is for you. What's the difference between CBM and referral marketing?
Yes. So referral marketing, that's a great question, because I could spend an hour on this, but I'll give you the very short version. So referral marketing will usually be one-to-one marketing that I'm doing. So meanings that I'm doing a one-to-one engagement, and referral marketing is not as much resource on my side. When I put referral marketing in place, it's kind of like a refer a friend, and you can do this socially for events. You can do this actually for existing customers, but referral marketing is really a structure you put in place so that your existing customers are bringing business to you. You don't actually have to, you put incentives out there, but you're relying on them. Community-based marketing is not one-to-one. It's actually many. And by the way, you're actually going out. So you're putting resources away. It does have like, as far as higher engagement for leads, where referral marketing, the leads are more quality leads, not quantity, where when you're looking at CBM, you're going to get a lot more quantity. Quality are still all right because you're engaging them, but that's the difference. It's one-to-one versus many, and then quantity versus quality.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, we want to get to prizes, but really quick, Eric, any last thoughts before we do?
I think there's, everyone's in this community. I got to tell you, you have the best people, obviously, Jeff and team helping you, right? You have all this great content. When I walk in some of these ones, I'm giving you like the next level stuff I'm thinking about what you can go do, and what I'm seeing partners are really scaling doing. So I just say, take that step, take one step forward. So if you're like, gosh, I haven't really started anything, I'm going to participate. Right? If you're like, you know what, I'm already doing stuff out there, what else can I do? Start going to that managed community, right? If you want to take a big jump, do own, but just take that next step. That would be my walk away.
Awesome. Back to you, Jeff.
All right. Great stuff. As always, I did want to give a shout out for Eric. I didn't reveal this before, but we can all feel bad for Eric. He's got 8 weeks of vacation coming up.
Sabbatical Intel, one of the best advantage of working at that company. So
yeah, so enjoy yourself, Eric, on that. And Alicia, as Eric mentioned, always great to have you on these to be able to talk about Dell Expert Network, and you're doing a great job with all of that. So we've got prizes here coming up. We've got $500 Amex gift cards. I went through and I pulled the names. One of them came up twice. I don't know how, random number generator. We've got a couple hundred people on the call and it came up twice. You don't win twice there for that, but it did come up twice here. And so I've got it. I just double checked everyone right before this to be able to make sure that everyone is still on the call, must be present to win. For our first winner is Brian Kinsey. So congratulations, Brian. For all of you, we'll get with you after this here of getting you your gift card sent out to you. Second one is Linda Barwig. Congratulations, Linda. Next is Joseph Maxim. And then next after that, a good name here, Jeff Gardner. All right, so Joseph, you've got it. I see you on the chat there. And then the last one, this was the one that came up twice out of it. I don't know how it did it. Google random generator, easiest way to be able to pick names. Here is Mark Strayer. So Mark, congratulations, you won $500 of an Amex gift card. So congratulations to all of you with that. Thank you for Alicia, for you and Dell Expert Network providing these great prizes, just making it for a fun afternoon, particularly for 5 of you of a really fun afternoon there. I appreciate you guys coming on. Great content here. If you missed any of it today, we are going to post this up, a complete recording. We'll make sure that we get the link back out to you, and you can always share that with friends as well here, other coworkers within your company. With that, I think we're going to be able to get wrapped up a couple minutes early here. So thanks, everyone, and look forward to seeing you on the next MSP Success webinar. Thanks all.
Thank you.